Brian from Provision Studios, and this video is a little bit of an evaluation on what I've discovered so far on the Canon XF400. I've had this camera in my hand for just a couple of hours over the course of several days. I just haven't had a lot of time to get with the camera. And initially, when I first got the camera, there was a little bit of what I would say maybe misgivings or a feeling of that I had just made a big mistake. The camera was not quite what I was expecting. So I never had a camera like the XF400 in my ownership. The sort of my camera journey started with a Sony HDR FX7, which was a professional camcorder. Then I had that for several years, and that was really my only camera. And then as technology started changing, I saw an opportunity to get into like the prosumer camcorder range, and I went out and got, because I had experience with Sony, I went out and got a Sony HDR or a Sony FDR AX53. I still own that camera. It's a very nice camera. So I had that for several years, and during the time of me having the camcorders, again, not to say that the FX7 is a camcorder, but it's in the same shape as a camcorder. It's a professional camera, but I mean it's a camcorder. So during the time when I had the two Sonys, I had purchased an EOS Rebel from Canon, or a DSLR. Had that for years. Used it just for photography. Didn't use it very much for video at all. And a couple of years ago, Canon came out with their mirrorless Canon EOS M50, and I still have that camera as well. I use that a lot. I love that little M50. So it started getting me to see that the Canon camera line was pretty serious. So I started looking, because I had an affinity for camcorders, I started looking at maybe a replacement for my Sony FX7. The Sony FX7 for years was my A camera. I'd set it up in my studio opposite of my monitor. I would record studio tutorials with that being the A camera, and then my B shot was my screen capture. Did hundreds of videos like that. So I went and got the Canon Vixia HF G50. That was my first journey with the Canon camcorder line. There were some misgivings with it that I mentioned in several videos when I reviewed it. A couple months after I had the G50, I looked at, actually let me say this, before I got the G50, I looked at the G50 and the G60. I couldn't really justify buying the G60 at that time, so the G50 was the more affordable version. Got it, had misgivings with it, and busted my butt over the course of last summer taking on extra studio work so that I could afford the G60. Got the G60 in. It was everything that I had hoped it would be, with the C-Log, the dual pixel autofocus, so on and so forth. 9-blade iris. I mean, everything about the G60 is exactly what I had read and had imagined it was going to be. So why the need or the desire to get an XF400? Well, to be honest with you, it just seemed to me like as good as the G60 was, the Canon Vixia HF G60 was, it was still something being held back. There was something about the camera, 1-inch sensor, the dual pixel autofocus, the onboard image stabilization, which is a 5-axis image stabilization, the 422 10-bit output from the HDMI port, the manual mode with the ND filters, all that stuff, dual SD card slots, on and on and on and on. Everything about it was great, except there was just a couple things that I just was like, you know, I feel like I'm getting something that is not really worth the money that they're asking for. So I started looking at what else Canon had at that next level, that professional line. And I started seeing stuff that was out now that was $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And I was like, I'm not paying that kind of money for a camera that's just a little bit more robust than the G60. I'll just keep the G60 and go with it. Then I saw a camera that came out about 5 years ago, and it checked off every single box that the G60 did, plus it came with a professional quality audio attached handle. It came with a dual processor, dual DivX 6 processor, which is the same processor that the G60 has, except 2 of them. And everything else about the G60 that I liked was in this camera, and it was the XF400. Now, there was also a G10 or a GX10, which was the XF400 without the audio handle, or so I thought. After doing a lot of digging, because I had bought a lot of cameras, and I was getting to the point where I just wanted to buy the right camera. So I had to make the right purchase. So I did a lot of research, and the digging I did on the GX10 revealed that it wasn't the same camera as the XF400 minus the audio handle. That there were things about that camera that were similar to the G60, where it's like you've got these specs that look real good on paper, but when you're out with the camera in your hand and you're shooting footage and you're like, let me try this and let me do this and let me try that, you're asking yourself, well, why isn't the camera able to do this? And why isn't the camera able to do that? So I said, you know what? Based on my experience with the G60, again, G60 is still here. I love this camera. I hope to be able to keep it. I don't want to have to sell it. I may have to. I hope I don't have to. I hope I can keep both cameras. Anyway, my experience with the G60, I used it as a understanding that with Canon, go with your gut. If you think that something is not quite as good because it's a lower tier, with Canon, it is. It is not as good. They do it. They have, I think it's jokingly called the Canon hammer, where they purposely tier their products. Their upper echelon stuff is immaculate. It's really good. And then they drop things down so that if you want something and you want it bad enough, they're not going to give it to you here. They're going to make you pay for it up here. So that brings me to the XF400. I knew that it was the camera based on what I saw, what I read, and what I wanted out of my A camera. Based on a lot of it was the audio, the audio functionality. I am an audio professional. I went to school for music production, graduated valedictorian with a bachelor's degree in music production from Full Sail University. I mean, audio is really where I cut my teeth, so to speak. And I've always had cameras all over. I've always had microphones all over. So I got microphones here, and microphones here, and microphones here, and microphones here, all to try to get a good audio representation of what's going on in my studio. And all those are always off the camera. They're going into this audio device, or I got it routed to that audio device over there, or whatever it is. It's not going into the camera. So there is an extra step I have to do with all my videos where once I get all the footage, I go back over to the to my computer, and I have to merge these two different entities, the video with the audio. Now, I'm not saying it's hard. Technology has come so far that you click two files now and you click create new merge clip, or it really is awesome what has been done the last couple of years with nonlinear editors in regards to being able to create your video clips from different audio sources. So I'm not saying it's a terrible process. It's not. But it's nice to have a camera now where I plug my microphone into it. It goes into the camera, and voila, I've got my audio. And the XF400 records up to 4 tracks of audio. So I've got 4 different options on how I want to record my audio. For a guy, again, that is big into audio, that's heaven, man. That's good stuff. So, huge reason why I wanted the XF to be my A camera. Back to the beginning now. So I get the camera, I take it out, I'm shooting, and I'm noticing a lot of things about it that I'm like, oh, there we go. Canon got me again. It's this level of camera, even though they call it a professional camcorder. It got me again. I'm limited with this. I can't do that. This feature or this functionality doesn't meet what I needed to do. And that was all based on 5 minutes of video that I ran outside when I got the camera, hit record real quick, and bam, 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 back into the studio, pop in the memory card, and go, oh man, this isn't any good. So a couple days go by. I don't have a lot of time to get back to the camera because I was so busy at work, and I had a lot to do in the studio, and also weather was not real good here where I live. So I was waiting for the weather to clear up. I had to finish a big project in the studio, and I had to get through some big jobs at my day job in order to buy me some time out here in the studio. All that happened. Got to get the camera back in my hand, and I started messing with the settings, fiddling around with things, recording things different ways, seeing what works, and I looked for help. I went online. I looked up several forums, including the Canon user forum, and found some really good information. I found some really good advice from some very knowledgeable people that were offering up little tips on how to tweak it here and how to improve it here and how to mitigate this imperfection and how to improve on this inefficiency. get to a point now where the XF400 is starting to look like it is every bit of the camera I was hoping and every bit better than what I was wanting. Now, this is an early evaluation, so I don't want to get full bore on this, but the 5-axis image stabilization is better than what's on the G60. I said it in a couple of videos about that I did with the G60 that I still didn't think the image stabilization was good enough. For what you're paying for this camera, $1,600 to $2,000, depending on the package, what you're paying for this camera, the image stabilization still did not meet my expectations. And I got flack for it on my YouTube channel. I got people saying, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. What do you expect? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I expect? I expect to be able to hold a camcorder in my hand, hit record, and not have the footage look like this. When my hand's not doing that. My hand's doing this. That's what I expect. Couldn't get it with that camera. Couldn't get it with the G60. I get it with the Sony FDR-AX53. I take that camera out, put it in my hand, nice and smooth. Now, that's a special camera, so, but that's not the point of today. So, you know, I was willing to say, you know what, maybe image stabilization isn't the battle I'm going to win here. So, I go get me the Crane 3S. I mount the XF400 to it. Bam. I'm talking Hollywood. Smooth, fluid, just dreamy sequences. Shooting at 60p, slowing the footage down. I'm like, man, that's so good. That's what I wanted. Now, the G60 on the Canon 3S, the Zhiyun Crane 3S, was good. I'm not saying it was bad, but it's not XF400 smooth. The XF400 and the Zhiyun Crane 3S are perfect together. It really was an excellent pairing. I'm glad I got the 3S. I got the 3S for the G60. So the imperfections in the stabilization of the G60 is what led me to get the Crane 3S, which when I wanted to get the XF400, if I didn't have the 3S, I probably would be making a completely different video right now. But because I had the 3S, due to the poor or the less than optimal image stabilization of the Vixia HFG60, allowed me to have the XF400 mounted on it. And I'm telling you guys, I'm going to play some footage here you guys to look at and let me know what you think. But definitely what I was looking for. Also, again, I'm early on with this camera, so there's still more to come. But the user forum, the Canon user forum, I read one post where someone was asking about the YDR. They were trying to figure out why the quality wasn't quite what they were wanting it to be. How can they edit it? What can they do to improve it? And they had a couple things that they were listing in their original post, talking about, you know, I'm trying to do this and I'm getting this. Every when I do this and then I go over here and I try this setting and I get this, and this. So they were asking for the people in the forum to help them troubleshoot the issues they were having. And I'm not saying I had issues, the same issues that the person had, but I was interested in seeing what the community was going to say about the wide dynamic range profile on the XF400. So I'm swiping through, seeing all these comments that these people are making. A couple people were just like, yeah, you're wanting too much. What do you expect? Blah, blah, blah. That same old brush to the side narrative of, dude, it's a cheap camcorder. What do you want? You know, but it's not. This is a $3,000 camcorder, brand new. That is not cheap. We need to start demanding more out of the products we buy. And if the companies that we buy them from aren't willing to give us the quality that we demand, then we should stop buying products from these companies. Anyway, that's kind of, you know, my feeling on it. I get to this one comment. At the top of the comment, no words written yet, there's a picture, a screen grab of the person that's commenting from, I guess, the video they shot. It was an indoor studio setting, looked similar to my setup, and he listed, hey, if you really want to improve your wide DR profile, da 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 da, check this out. It's the camera, the lights, the reason I did this, bam, 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 long detailed explanation of why he did what he did, and then the settings he changed inside the profile. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try it, because a couple of things that this comment that he said he changed these settings to relieve, they were things that I wished was better with the wide DR preset profile. So I took his comment, turned on the camera, followed along to what he said, changed those 3 settings inside the profile, and I took it outside, and there we are. I was like, now that is a good camera. That is what I wanted. That is something that I can sit there and get usable results with every time I turn on the camera. So where are we? I've had the camera for, like I said, a couple hours in total based on usage. So it's not like I've had the camera for a week, but I really haven't. I really haven't had this camera in my hand. I've only been using it very, very minimal. So I've had the camera for really a couple days in total. So where are we at? I can tell you the images on this camera are really good. I can see where this camera is going to benefit me. I love the audio functionality. I'm going to get more into that in future videos. It looks good going to my Atomos Ninja Flame. So I'll be showing some of that footage. It looks, like I said, that camera, this gimbal, that's some serious stuff right there. You'll be seeing some more of that footage in the near future. Handheld, using the dynamic stabilization and the handle on top of the camera, and walking around and being very careful with each step you take. Usable footage. This camera excels at 60p. What drew me to this camera, beyond the audio functionality of it, was the 4K 60p capabilities of the dual DivX6 processors. It is worth the price you pay for it. The 60p alone on this camera is excellent. The quality is on another level. When you slow it down, it's superb. You add a little sharpening to it. When you do slow it down, you do lose a little bit of the sharpness of the 60p in native frame rate, but you add a little sharpness to the slowed down footage, and you're getting there. You're getting real close to having an excellent video clip. Right now, the knock I would make on this camera is less than premium dual pixel autofocus in low light. G60's dual pixel autofocus is better than the XF400. I don't get hunting at all with the G60. And that was my big problem with the G50. The G50 would hunt, but that did not have dual pixel autofocus. The G50 had a different type of autofocus on it, which is why I wanted the G60. The G60 had the 1-inch sensor, dual pixel autofocus. It had the C-Log. It had the 9 blade iris. It had these things on it that I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want out of my camera. That's what I want out of my A camera in my studio. So, 60p in 4K, yeah, that's good. What's even better is 120p while shooting 1080. This camera can do it. Now, that is not a selectable frame rate just out of the camera. You have to use the slow and fast motion feature of the camera, which isn't bad. I've done videos with it before. Basically, the camera overclocks itself so that you're shooting in 120, but the video that you pull out of it is already slowed down. I haven't done it yet in this camera, so I can't speak to how it looks. But I was shooting all day today in 60p. This is actually in 30p. Is what I'm shooting right now. But I've been shooting 60p all day long on a gimbal, on the Crane 3S, and handheld, and on a tripod. And I have been, today was my best day with the camera. It's why I'm making this video, because I have been waiting for the breakthrough day. I was waiting for the moment when the light was going to come on and I was going to start seeing the value this camera was going to provide. Today was that day, and it had a lot to do with getting this camera on this gimbal and going online to the Canon user forum and just reading and finding an interesting comment that appealed to me, making the changes and saying, yeah, now we're getting somewhere. So I will try to see if I can improve upon the dual pixel autofocus on this camera. There may not be. This camera, the XF400 came out before the G60. So I gotta believe, even though that this has a dual DivX6 processor, I believe in my heart that the G60 has a better dual pixel autofocus because it's newer. This is a newer camera. This came out, this was a more recent release than the XF400. I think when this camera came out, there was still tiers they were building. When this camera came out, this sort of entered an arena that the XF400, when it came out, this was above in regards to the dual pixel autofocus. 9 blade iris in this camera is really good. You get some excellent bokeh on this lens. The zoom is good. Powered IS is good on it. There's a lot of good things with this camera, and I'm just touching the surface with this camera. I just wanted to make this video because today was my first really good day, where as I was walking in from each shot, walking back into the studio from each shot, I couldn't wait to see the footage. I was like, man, I can't wait to see what that looks like, because it looks so good on the display. Anyway, this video's gone on long enough. I will be making more footage and more more comparisons to the G60 in the next several days. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything I've said in this video, or you'd like to see any particular test run, please don't hesitate to drop it into the comment section below. You can always email me at bbuck822@gmail.com. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And until the next video, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.